All right, it's 3 o'clock. Let's call the Urban Design Commission to order. Please silence your cell phones and let's call roll. Here.
Here.
Present.
Okay, excellent. Any questions or concerns about the minutes? If there are no objections, then we will consider the minutes approved by unanimous consent. Consent docket, item 4A, 828 Northwest 8th Street. I'm going to request that be moved for individual consideration. I have a couple of questions about that. Given that we're going to keep these in the same order, that means 828 Northwest 8th is up for individual consideration. Michael?
Yeah, this is a item that was before the Commission earlier this year twice, once in May for the demolition of the existing residence, and then back in July we heard a request for approval of a single-family residence. And you may recall that request had a couple of options to it, option A and option B. And the one that ended up getting approved had a variety of retaining walls that were involved with the project and some that were adjacent to North Francis. And it ended up being approved, but there were some concerns expressed, and so the applicant has worked a little harder to try and come up with a design that does not impact the sidewalk along Francis as much as the approved version did back from July. And they're here to present that version of the plan to you, and we think it's a much improved option over what was approved, and we're recommending approval to the Commission.
Okay. Is the applicant here now, or anyone represent? Okay.
Vincent's supposed to come? Vincent? Okay.
Kayla Baker, P.O. Box 892837, Oklahoma City.
Did you want to chat at all or talk about why you made the changes you did?
To be honest, there was a miscommunication between the applicant and the architect. And after we went back and, Fitzsimmons made some comments about the retaining wall, we kind of started thinking, how could we improve this to make it look better? And we just decided just to change it. So that was really what we did at the end of the day. We felt like it needed to be removed and we could look at some different options.
Okay.
So it wasn't necessarily what we actually wanted at the end of the day either.
Okay. And as you mentioned, Brian Fitzsimmons expressed some concerns about the retaining wall. So the retaining wall, you're just going to replace what's there now?
There's not a retaining wall there, and right now.
There's a slight retaining wall against Francis.
Yeah. Along the sidewalk on North Francis is about a 2 or 3 foot high retaining wall right at the edge of the sidewalk.
And that's just going to remain the
They're going to redo that in its exact same configuration.
Okay.
With the previous plans, the architect actually had us taking dirt off of the site, putting up another retaining wall on the south side. So that's what I was talking about. That's what I was referring to.
Oh, I got you.
So we wouldn't put up one on the south side.
Gotcha. And then the stucco finish, and I don't remember if we spoke like this last time. I don't think we did. Is it going to be smooth stucco?
Mm-hmm. Smooth.
Okay. Any questions? Motions? Okay, David Yost, Betsy Brunstetter, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty. We go to the next item for individual consideration, 2923 North Walker.
Yes, this item is before you today because the urban design guidelines in this area for the Paseo refer us to the historic legacy section of the code, and there are a number of guidelines that come into play when you incorporate that level of review. And as you can see in the staff report, we've highlighted a number of guidelines that would suggest that the proposal before you is something that probably should be denied. due to the significant character of the architecture and the material being replaced, which is something that is character defining for that type of architecture, and the time of the structure was erected in 1919. So we've kind of reviewed all the pertinent guidelines that come into play in the review of this case, and outlined our thought process in reviewing the project against those guidelines. And our conclusion is that we recommend denial of the proposal to replace the clapboard with brick. I do want to point out, however, that there are two parts to this proposal. One is which is to propose a 4-foot tall picket fence around the perimeter of the site, and that was not broken out as a separate part of a recommendation. And there aren't any pertinent guidelines that speak to the issue of that fencing, and so we would be amenable to allowing the applicant to proceed with that part of the request.
Just a quick question, Michael. Isn't it a vinyl picket fence?
Yes, it is.
And how does staff feel about vinyl?
Well, it's probably not the most compatible material, but there are no guidelines in the area that speak to that issue.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
We'd be happy to respond to any questions the commission may have. I don't believe the applicant is here. I made several requests to ascertain whether they were going to be present or not, and they never replied to my inquiry, so I'm not sure why they're not here, but I explained the importance of them trying to be here, but they are not.
That house, I read a number of things in there that I'm not sure is accurate, but you did raise some issues about the brick. I didn't see any evidence of power washing on that building. I've been there for over 35 years. There may be some. I mean, I don't know. The siding wasn't in that much, it wasn't that bad off. There were some splits. Needed to be replace a few planks and stuff, but they could save a lot of money by just fixing it up. It's never been fixed up. And I'm going to make a motion that we deny. I mean, there's discussion after motion, so I just...
Okay, well, I would support that, and I would actually deny both items. I would too. And I don't know, maybe the guidelines don't speak specifically to fencing, but there's emphasis placed on preserving the integrity of a structure, and I don't know how vinyl fencing dovetails with the integrity goal. So I would support.
And 4 feet high is kind of that starts getting to be a security issue once, if you've got a 4-foot blind, it's kind of I don't know, it seems to me like they could come up with something that would be better for the neighborhood and cheaper. I don't know how, there's really no way to hold up that brick without putting a ledge angle, and, it would require a structural engineer, unless there's a foundation underneath, and I didn't see any excavation going on anywhere to ascertain whether it was a protruding foundation. And I don't know that I'd trust a brick wall on top of it anyway, given how some of those places were built. So anyway, that's my motion.
We can discuss it before the second. Once we hit the second, then we vote on it.
Well, I was going to ask Michael or Aubrey or someone, has this applicant indicated any flexibility in terms of what they might be willing to do? Because I thought if they did, we might be able to continue it and give them an opportunity to bring something that would be acceptable after staff discussions, rather than denying it and causing them to have to start all over again. But I don't have any idea what their attitude is or how flexible they might be.
It's been a while since we've had any direct discussions with the applicant on this case. I know that they did say that they have a relative that is a mason, and that's one of the reasons they're pursuing the brick. And we did suggest to them that they probably ought to stick with the clapboard, but they hadn't indicated any possibility of them considering that at this point, facing a denial. And they've had the report now for, they received the report in the mail, and so they're aware of our recommendation, but they have not contacted us since that, and they haven't indicated any flexibility in that regard. I've talked with Katie Friddle in our office in Historic Preservation, and in many cases in the HP districts, they will allow things like even hardy board that replicates the look of the clapboard. And I mean, that would be maybe a compromise position that could be pursued, but they haven't indicated any indication of trying to pursue that option.
I agree there'd be all kinds of problems to try to, even if it would look okay, there'd be a lot of structural issues and to go from clapboard siding to brick.
I just want, ma'am, are you, I just want to make sure, is that?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Hi, come on up.
Yes.
Do you want to go ahead and say who you are and your...
Okay, my name is Dania Ruggieri, and my house number is 2923 North Walker.
Okay. So where the conversation was going so far was that a couple of the commissioners expressed concerns about the brick. John, actually, you're from this area. You probably should just recap what you said, if you don't mind.
Well, there isn't any visible means of supporting the brick. There may be something that we don't know, and I would be reticent to just start putting brick on that house without seeing that there's something underneath it that's adequate. But it really doesn't fit in with what the neighborhood design guidelines are and what the requirements are, and so I've been there for a long time. The wood siding didn't look like it was that damaged to me. There's some parts that are split. I'd have to have more information, to be able to support that, but I don't think the brick is appropriate for the houses in the neighborhood.
Okay, the reason why I want to put a brick on the house is because we're trying to paint it outside,
Yeah.
and basically the wood is too old that it cannot even support the power wash.
Yeah.
So basically, the house, it has a lot of kind of holes outside.
Yeah.
So we need to fix it because a lot of rats, and sometimes we have even squirrels go through the wood, and we can even power wash it won't do nothing. So basically, if you put paint on top of that, it's wasting my money.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's not going to fix it. And then to fix the wood, really is kind of more expensive for me. And my budget is $10,000 to fix the house outside. If I put brick, that's exactly what I was going to spend.
What are you going to put the brick on?
Well, we basically we have to do it all the way from the ground to up. Because basically...
But you're not putting it on the ground, are you?
Excuse me?
Are you putting the brick directly on the ground? Is that your idea?
Yes, from the ground all the way up. We have to, because there's no way we can use the same old brick that is already in there. No, we can use it.
Or when you say you're going to put it on the ground, are you going to put it on an existing footing, or are you going to extend the footing?
No, it's a system footing in there, but I think it's too old basically to support more brick on it, because it's already cracked. So basically, I had to do it because the foundation in the house basically is already moving. And then I don't know if you guys remember that we have floating that part basically, it went down more.
Right.
So part of the stairs, where the brick is at, between when you walk inside the house, it's a stair, it's a brick. And that basically the stairs are like this, because all the way that part, it went down. So for me, my budget is $10,000, and I know that's what it's going to spend, because I already do my math and stuff. Plus my husband, I, and my cousins, they're gonna do it. So because that's what they do, and exactly that's what I was gonna spend. I was gonna spend $10,000. I cannot spend more. I cannot afford it. And the foundation is basically in bad shape.
Well, one of the things that I think a few people have been trying to point out, is that you can't just have brick on the ground. Obviously, you seem to know that, because what they would have to do also, and this would add to the expense, and I'd be amazed if you could even get $10,000 to pay for the brick alone, let alone the labor. But anyway, with that aside, you'd need to dig a new foundation for your brick.
And it would really need to be, I would want to see it connected to the rest of the house.
Right, and the problem is, if you have damage due to that flood, because you're right, I saw all those photographs, you probably need to make sure that the house is stable before you even start doing anything like that.
Exactly. Well, what we was gonna do basically is put the brick outside and start from outside to go in before I even want to move all the way in the back, to start inside. I have to do, when you build a house, the first thing you do basically is the concrete, all right? Okay, the house, it has to be, the way from the ground to over here is brick. It's already brick in there, okay? So basically we talk about like a 3 foot, I believe it's 3 foot up. So.
The water?
No, the brick.
The brick is about,
From the house.
30
It's
inches.
already like a 3 foot already in there. Okay, so from there, it's wood. So basically we're gonna have to put the brick first and then see what is the damage inside the house. I already know that I have mold in the house too. We're trying to treat it, but so I know I had to.
so you're saying you would rebuild, you'd not just put the brick on the outside of the existing wall, but you would rebuild the entire wall?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I can afford it. I can afford it. I want to put brick because I think that's the most main part, that way it can support another part of the house inside. So it will help me to support, because part of the house is like this side. Like I said, the steps, they're kind of like this already.
I would
So
love
how
it
to
if this applicant had an opportunity to visit with Michael, and maybe Michael could direct her to somebody that could help her understand the construction of this, because there's some disconnect between what you're saying that you want to do and what, I'm an architect, John's an architect, David is a builder, so we're not understanding how you hope to accomplish this. So we either need to have some kind of drawings or something or maybe whoever was going to build it for you would be able to draw a section of what you're planning. So there is a motion on the floor to deny.
I'll modify that to postpone, or to...
Continue?
Yeah, continue.
And I would second that for continuance on this, so that you could have an opportunity to visit with Michael and he could give you some information on who you can talk to about this.
Okay.
Okay?
Betsy, do you want to ask the applicant how much time you think she would need?
Oh, I can ask her that.
Okay.
How much, would you need 30 days or 60 days for that? This gives you an opportunity to think about it and really research it.
Exactly. I would say 60 days.
Okay?
I think we need to get somebody to help her
Absolutely.
that's technically informed.
Well, who you might talk to is, because I just want to make a quick comment here. This is turning into a structural issue about how to reclad with brick, which is an issue. However, there's a more fundamental issue, which is, even if you can reclad with brick, is it appropriate in this case? And I have reservations that it is.
Yeah.
So it might make sense to, if, I don't know if this can be done, but to facilitate an introduction with Ron Franz and the applicant, and maybe they can have a larger discussion about what is the most cost-effective and, in terms of historic integrity, maybe optimal solution for the house. That's kind of the direction I would suggest
That's
we
a
go.
great idea, and also to help her know how to protect her house from, I can't protect my house from squirrels no matter where on the ground, but anyway, but there's that, sorry. It's Halloween. Anyway,
Okay, so anyway, to pull this back to closure, we have a motion for 60-day continuance. John Robeson, seconded by Betsy Brunstetter. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, 60-day continuance. And you can speak with Michael to figure out what the next steps are between now and then.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay? All right, the next case for individual consideration is 824 Northwest 8th Street. Okay, you can, do we still have one? We still have a quorum, okay.
Yes, this item is for a new three-story, three-bedroom home, 3,800 square feet at 824 Northwest 8th Street. It's on a currently vacant lot that was formerly occupied by a residence, but we've been unable to determine when that residence was demolished. It seems to be of some time ago. This lot was formerly part of an adjacent lot to the west and has recently been split off and sold, so the county assessor does not have a record for this property yet, but it has been sold and is owned by Mr. Mason. We have reviewed this application per the guidelines that are applicable in the Cottage District, downtown DDT 1, and for the most part the project is in compliance with all the guidelines that are applicable to the project, with one exception, and that's the reason it's on the individual consideration part of the agenda. That issue is, again, as with most contemporary homes in this area, the issue of the 24-inch first floor elevation for the step-up or walk-up front entry. So we've reviewed that issue again, as we have with many contemporary homes in this area before, and basically made the determination that this rule is, this guideline is not as applicable to this style of home as it is to the homes that are predominant or were predominant in this area. And we're recommending approval of the project to the Commission, and happy to respond to any questions the Commission may have.
Michael, was there going to be a modification proposed to this, or not?
Well, I think that, seeing is, the pattern that's been established over the past year and a half or so, that's certainly something that would be a candidate for change at such time as we do make changes to the guidelines. Again, this is a kind of a quirky area because it's really downtown, so we have to take those changes to, I think, maybe Downtown Commission as well,
Okay.
for review. But at this point in time, we don't have any work scheduled to review those guidelines, but it's certainly something we can keep on our list.
Okay, yes, and regarding that particular issue, I personally, as I mentioned before, I'm not even sure it's ADA compliant, and we've waived that before, so I don't
It's
think...
not.
Okay, well...
You have to make it compliant. You can make it compliant, but it's not. And the house is as it stands. And that, back in the old days, we were talking about maintaining the porches and all that stuff, maintaining those heights. That's where that thing, I think, was born many, many years ago, and in some neighborhoods, that's appropriate. There's a flat plate house in Heritage Hills that is, trying to have turrets and do all those kinds of things, and it just was a ripoff of the design, and it looked terrible, largely because of the fact that it didn't have the same kind of an entry. But in this neighborhood and in that block in particular, there's already a contemporary house going up across the street. It's on grade. This is I think it is an exceptional design myself, and it will do wonders for that neighborhood. And it would be unfortunate, I think, to add complication to it by raising it up off the ground. I don't think it serves any purpose.
I was going to make, I agree with you completely. I was going to make one other comment, and this is an aesthetic comment. I'm not quite sure how to make it, so I'll just try to get it out as best I can. It doesn't come out in the black and white images, but if you look on the internet, in our packet on the internet, it comes out. That western wall, by and large, is red brick. And it's a contemporary building with that western wall of red brick. And I don't know if that red brick was meant to be a nod to the neighborhood or to kind of historic times and in an effort to fit in. And if that's the client's aesthetic or the architect's aesthetic, then fine. I'm not going to quibble with it. But if it was meant to be a nod to the neighborhood, a nod to fitting in, I don't know that it has to be red brick. And I'll just toss that out and let the comment stay.
Scott Dedman with ADG. No, it wasn't necessarily a nod to the neighborhood or intentionally a historic reference. It was just an aesthetic and just the warmth of the red brick, and really just more a tie to the local vernacular than necessarily the neighborhood vernacular.
Perfect. Okay, great. I don't have any questions. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Move approved.
We do have one change that we want to propose.
Yes.
If you'll look on the original elevations that we submitted, we had a large trellis on the roof, sort of a triangular-shaped trellis. We've been conversing with the neighbor next door to the west, and the trellis extends into her view of downtown. And so we've proposed to remove that trellis and keep flipping and do really a much simpler plan. It's right at the very end.
Right.
Yeah. So as opposed to the triangular rooftop, we've gone to just a...
That's a handout supplement that you gave us?
Yes. So just a much simpler covered roof with a rectangular roof above that. We've also eliminated a lot of the glass rails and are doing a vegetated edge along that roof so we can eliminate some railing, but still have some right at the very corner to create sort of a lookout. So I don't know if you guys can approve that today since we didn't submit it, but that is a change that we'll be bringing back.
It's just that triangle is truncated, so it's now
Correct.
yeah, I personally don't see why you should come back and present that again.
Great.
But that's just me. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Any motions?
Move approved.
Okay, that's John Robinson. Second that. And Jeff Struble, second. All in favor, say aye. 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 Any opposed? Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you all want to clarify that it's the approval with the changes
change.
that were
With the
presented?
proposed modification.
Yeah, with the
Contingent
change.
on them submitting revised drawings to Michael to verify that?
That's what we meant, Aubrey.
Okay.
Thank you very much for explicating
Good
on
submittal.
our motion. Thank you. Okay. Communications, Michael, you talk about the administrative approvals?
Yeah, we have one change to a restaurant facility in the Plaza District. They are proposing an addition of a 99 square foot walk-in cooler, and they've chosen to clad it in brick and then paint that brick to match the rest of the building. And then the second one is a up in the 23rd Street Northwest Corridor, basically at Western Avenue. There's an existing O'Reilly Auto Parts store. They're making a minor addition that is under the threshold for administrative approvals.
Okay, excellent. Did you want to proceed on to comments from the planning department?
Sure. Wanted to give you a little bit of an update. I know that we had circulated to the commission the survey that Bill Bleakley is working on in the Cottage District for review and comment from commission members. We did get a couple comments back from some of the commissioners, and we were intent on relaying those comments on to Mr. Bleakley for inclusion in his survey as it was sent out. However, there was some cross wires in communication, and he sent it out a day before we were able to convey the changes to him. So, unfortunately, the survey went out without incorporating some of the changes that the commissioners had requested.
Okay, well, those things happen. It's
Yes.
great that he's taking charge and doing the survey in the first place.
Yes.
Any other comments from commissioners about anything, general or specific? No? Okay, the next meeting date, the information's on the agenda. If there is no objection, we'll consider ourselves adjourned by unanimous consent. Okay, thank you.